So let's get right into it. Over the past decade, China's ambitions in space have just exploded, accelerating at a pace that's frankly pretty stunning. And it all leads to this one big question people are asking. Why? Why this intense focus on getting astronauts to the moon by 2030? Well, to get a handle on their motivation, you don't have to look much further than this assessment from the US-China Economic and Security Review Commission. They are not mincing words here. They believe China considers itself to be in a space race with the United States, a race it intends to win. That statement really sets the stage for everything else. Right, so you might be thinking, okay, another space race like the US versus the Soviet Union. But, it's not quite that simple. This time around, the stakes are way more complex. We're talking a mix of national pride, hard-nosed military strategy, and, of course, massive economic ambition. And to really get what's happening now, you have to appreciate just how fast things have moved. I mean, check out this timeline. It's just bam, 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 one milestone after another. Their first uncrewed flight was in 1999. Fast forward just 20 years, and they're landing a rover on the far side of the moon. That is a staggering pace of development. And this graph? This really puts that pace into perspective. Look at this. By 2018, China was conducting more successful space launches than any other country in the world. We're not just talking about a few big, splashy missions. This is about building a constant, robust, and frequent presence up there. So what's the engine behind all this speed? Well, the first big piece of the puzzle is military strategy. It's the classic idea of controlling the high ground. And in the 21st century, space is, without a doubt, the ultimate high ground. And we don't even have to speculate about this. China's own 2019 Defense White Paper says it flat out. Outer space is a critical domain in international strategic competition. That's not a scientific statement, that's a strategic one. And it changes everything about how they approach their space program. And here's what that really means. For the People's Liberation Army, the PLA, space isn't just another battlefield. No, it's the central pillar. It's the absolute foundation that holds up everything else they do, whether it's on land, at sea, or in the air. So this diagram, which actually comes from PLA materials, kind of gives us a peek behind the curtain. It lays out exactly how they see space fitting into their warfighting plans, connecting everything from intelligence and targeting to communications and navigation, all in support of military operations on the ground. All right, let's make that less abstract. What does that actually look like in practice? Well, we're talking about using satellites to get real-time intelligence, the ability to target ships thousands of kilometers from their coast. We're talking about using their very own navigation system, they do, to guide missiles with pinpoint accuracy. And of course, keeping their forces connected with secure communications no matter where they are on Earth. Okay, so military advantage is driver number one. But there's a second, really unique piece to this puzzle. It's a national strategy that basically erases the line between their civilian tech sector and their military goals. And it has a name: military-civil fusion. So what is military-civil fusion, or MCF? Think of it this way. It's a national-level strategy to break down the walls between commercial companies and the defense industry. The whole point is to make sure that a cool new technology developed by a startup can be immediately scooped up and adapted for military use. And vice versa. It's a two-way street designed for speed. So you might be asking, how is this different from how other countries do things? Well, in the more traditional model, you usually have your government space program over here and your military program over there. And getting technology from one to the other, it can be slow, really bureaucratic. But with China's MCSC model, that integration is the whole point. Things are designed from the ground up to be dual use, so that commercial innovation directly powers military progress. So what's the bottom line here? It all comes down to one thing: speed. It's about taking all the energy and innovation from the commercial world and pointing it directly at military challenges. It's a shortcut, really, to leapfrog technology forward much faster than a purely state-run system ever could. All right, so we've got military ambition and this unique civil-military fusion strategy. The third major driver takes us global. China is actively using its growing space power as a tool for international diplomacy, a way to build influence from the heavens, so to speak. And this isn't just theory or policy papers. We're talking about real physical infrastructure being built all over the planet. Take a look at this. It's a Chinese space tracking station in Kiribati, in the middle of the Pacific. These ground stations are crucial for supporting their own satellites and give them a strategic presence far, far from home. And it's not just a few isolated cases. The network of cooperation is pretty wide. They have a deep space station in Argentina. They've helped Pakistan and Venezuela build and launch their own satellites. They're engaged in space diplomacy all over the world, especially with developing nations. And here's the really strategic part of all this. This is what modern soft power looks like. When you offer other countries access to space technology, everything from launching a satellite for them to letting them tap into your navigation network, you're not just helping them, you're building relationships, creating a kind of technological dependency, and you're seriously boosting your own diplomatic clout on the world stage. So we have these three big drivers, right? The military angle, the economic and tech fusion, and the global diplomacy. And you know what? They all converge on one big, shiny destination, the moon. It's become the ultimate prize, the focal point for this new era of competition in space. And make no mistake, this isn't some chaotic sprint. It's an incredibly deliberate, step-by-step plan. First, you master robotic exploration. Check, they landed on the far side. Next, you figure out how to bring samples back. Then, you develop the complex technology for a crewed landing. And finally, you start looking at how you might actually use the resources there. It's a long game. But to pull off that long game, you need one thing above all else: raw power. And this is it. China is developing a monster of a rocket, the Long March 9, capable of lifting 100 tons into low Earth orbit. That is the kind of heavy lifting capability you absolutely need for serious, long-term missions to the moon and beyond. So, when you put it all together, you see that the moon isn't just some scientific curiosity for China. It is so much more than that. It's the ultimate symbol. A crewed landing would be a massive statement of their technological power, a huge win for their military-civil fusion model, and basically the final confirmation of their status as a global superpower. Which leaves all of us with a huge question for the next decade. As this new race to the moon heats up, the competition isn't just about who gets there first. It's about who gets to set the precedents, who gets to write the rulebook for this new frontier. And that's really what's at stake.